Pierluisi, former Governor and Shadow Representative Ricardo Rosselló, elected leaders from the Puerto Rico House and Senate, and U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich, who will join us in just a few minutes. Their presence here today serves as a testament to the importance of solidarity and collaboration in our ongoing pursuit of justice and equality for Puerto Rico. We are immensely grateful for their steadfast support and advocacy on behalf of our island and its people. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the remarkable efforts of the extended congressional delegation, who are currently in Washington, D.C. as part of the 4th Statehood Advocacy Week. These dedicated individuals have tirelessly advocated for Puerto Rico's rightful place at the national stage, meeting with over 100 Senate offices this time around to deliver a powerful message that it is time for Congress to act and put an end to over 125 years of territorial status. Their tireless efforts have not gone unnoticed, and we commend them for their unwavering dedication to our cause. Together, we stand united in our belief that Puerto Rico deserves a future free from the constraints of colonialism, where its people are afforded the full rights and privileges that they rightfully deserve. The road ahead may be challenging, but with support of the leaders like the ones who stand beside us today, as well as the tireless advocacy of our extended delegates in Washington, D.C., we are confident that we will overcome any obstacle that may lie in our path. As we continue our journey towards a brighter future for Puerto Rico, let us remain steadfast in our commitment to upholding the principles cemented by our founding fathers, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, and that we are bestowed with certain unalienable rights that are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And now, it is my distinct honor and privilege to stand before you today and introduce you to a leader who, for decades, has served the people of Puerto Rico with dignity and respect. First, as a member of Congress, and now as governor, Governor Pierluisi has tirelessly championed the rights and aspirations of the people of Puerto Rico. His commitment to the statehood cause has been evident in every action he has taken, every word he has spoken, and every decision he has made. Since taking office, Governor Pierluisi has worked tirelessly to build consensus and garner support for statehood across all of the United States. He has been a staunch advocate of equal representation in Congress, fighting to ensure that the voices of the 3.2 million American citizens on the island are heard and respected. As Executive Director of PRAFA, I have had the privilege of witnessing firsthand Governor Pierluisi's commitment to our cause. His leadership has been instrumental in advancing the status question of Puerto Rico, and I have no doubt that under his guidance, Puerto Rico will soon take its rightful place as the 51st state of this great union. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our two-time resident commissioner and our soon-to-be two-time governor, my boss, Pedro Pierluisi.
Good morning to all. I am so glad that so many leaders of Puerto Rico, both from Puerto Rico itself as well as from the states of the Union, the main U.S. mainland, are attending this event and are actually advocating for statehood in the U.S. Senate in the coming days, starting yesterday and continuing the rest of this week. This is the 4th occasion in the recent past that this happens, and I know that our quest will not end until we have equality for the American citizens residing in Puerto Rico. I have to thank former Governor Ricardo Rosselló, who's been leading what we call the extended congressional delegation of Puerto Rico. We're talking about thousands of Puerto Ricans residing in Puerto Rico itself or in the mainland who want this issue to end for once and for all. After all, we're talking about our civil rights. We're talking about voting rights. We're talking about American citizens who have been disenfranchised for more than 125 years. We're proud American citizens, and yet we don't vote for the president of our nation. We're proud American citizens, and we have no voting representation in the Congress of our nation. It's obvious that that's not democratic. By the same token, we do not have equal access to key federal programs for the needy in Puerto Rico, like disabled Puerto Ricans, elderly, low-income elderly Puerto Ricans who cannot get the benefit of the Supplemental Security, SSI program, Supplemental Security Income Program. That makes no sense. Nutrition assistance in Puerto Rico is not the same as in the mainland. It also makes no sense. Actually, the SNAP program works all over America, except in Puerto Rico and American Samoa. The federal health programs, which are critical for the low-income population in Puerto Rico, as well as our elderly, Medicaid and Medicare, do not work equally on the island. It's untenable. Having this situation simply causes a lot of Puerto Ricans to migrate to the States, when in their hearts they would rather stay in Puerto Rico, and we cannot blame them. So that's why we are here. We're talking about the former governor. We're talking about multiple state representatives, multiple state senators, multiple leaders, future state reps and senators, grassroots leaders, all of us united, asking for action on the part of the Senate. We had a great accomplishment in the last Congress when the House approved H.R. 8393. That bill allows the citizens of Puerto Rico, American citizens of Puerto Rico, to choose among three non-territorial, non-colonial options: statehood, independence, and free association, and commits Congress to implementing the will of the majority. That bill was approved by a very strong majority, bipartisan majority. In the Senate, we have to appreciate and thank Senator Martin Heinrich for introducing S 3231, which is basically the same bill. And we also have to thank Senator Heinrich because he not only introduced the bill, he's been convincing fellow members of the Senate to co-sponsor the bill. And right now, S 3231 has a record number of co-sponsors. 25 members of the Senate are sponsoring this bill. And we will continue getting more support. The next step, in my view, would be to have a public hearing in which we can discuss the merits of this bill and keep educating members of the Senate who perhaps do not have adequate information about the status issue that Puerto Rico is confronting. So all I can say is that for me, it is an honor. It is a privilege. It is a duty to be here, to be part of this advocating week. I'll be busy the rest of the day visiting members of the Senate, key members of the Senate. And I thank all of you, the ones who are here, for your fight for equality for Puerto Rico. And I'll briefly now turn to Spanish, just because I know there's Spanish media here present, and this is being broadcast in Puerto Rico as well, but I'll be brief. Para mí es un honor, es un privilegio, es un deber estar aquí esta semana en el Congreso, en esta toma de acción en el Congreso, liderada por el exgobernador Ricardo Rosselló, y estar acompañado por un gran número de miembros de la delegación congresional extendida que tenemos para abogar por la igualdad que nos falta como ciudadanos americanos en Puerto Rico. estar aquí con tantos representantes, senadores que se unieron a este esfuerzo de cabildeo. También es un gran placer para mí. Voy a estar visitando oficinas de miembros del Senado en el día de hoy, como debe ser. Y lo que pido en este momento dado es una vista pública en la que se pueda discutir en detalle el proyecto del Senado 3231, que es el mismo proyecto básicamente que aprobó la Cámara Federal en el pasado Congreso, y le da a los ciudadanos americanos de Puerto Rico la oportunidad de escoger entre tres opciones no territoriales, no coloniales: la estabilidad, la independencia y la libre asociación. Y de igual manera compromete al Congreso a implantar el deseo de la mayoría. Es importante que esta medida se discuta en vista pública para continuar educando a los miembros del Senado, que quizás algunos de ellos no tienen la información adecuada sobre el asunto del estatus de Puerto Rico. Estamos hablando de una causa de derechos civiles, derecho al voto por el presidente, derecho a representación con voto en el Congreso, que no tenemos hace más de 125 años. Y por otro lado también un asunto de equidad, de justicia, programas tan importantes como el Seguro Social Suplementario, la ayuda nutricional, el SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, no aplican en Puerto Rico con igualdad, y eso realmente es una barbaridad. Por eso no puedo culpar a los que se montan en un avión y se mudan a los estados, cuando pues están buscando precisamente el trato que se merecen como ciudadanos americanos. Así que no me voy a extender más, salvo reiterar mi compromiso inquebrantable con la lucha por la igualdad, con la lucha por la estadidad. Estoy aquí y vendré cuantas veces sea necesario hasta que Puerto Rico se convierta en el Estado 51 de la gran nación americana. Que Dios les bendiga.
It is my honor now to present a leader that has been very involved in this cause for a long time. He is the creator of this extended delegation. We have so many members here today. I have the honor of calling him also my former boss, former governor, and shadow congressman, Ricardo Rosselló.
Today I am filled with gratitude. I'm filled with gratitude at looking at all of your faces, the fights, the efforts that you have done. I'm filled with gratitude because we have a great governor whose steady leadership and vision has enabled the progress of the people of Puerto Rico and the progress of equality. I am grateful because I can see what lies ahead, and it's a beautiful future for our people. You know, it wasn't long ago that many of the ones that are over here today walked the halls of Congress as COVID was hitting. It was a tough time. In order to get in, you had to have permission. It wasn't the easiest of procedures. Yet that was the first initiative that the extended delegates commenced with. They came against all odds to fight and to ask for a bill, a consensus bill, that would allow the people of Puerto Rico to have a choice. Not a directive, but a choice binded by Congress. And it was with the leadership of Governor Pedro Pierluisi, and with the leadership of my friend Luis Davila Pernas, that little by little, with this group, we were not only able to grow, to identify more fellow constituents, but also to achieve what had never happened before, that Congress would pass a bill that would enable the people of Puerto Rico to choose from three alternatives that are viable. That happened against all odds. And here, that was the first step of the story of the extended delegate. Now, I want to share with you for a minute who the extended delegates are and why they are. The extended delegates come together from the idea that in order for us to have results, we need to exert pressure, political pressure. It comes from the idea that while we are 3 million Puerto Ricans in the island, we are 5.8 million strong in the United States. It comes from the idea that we can call upon those U.S. citizens that live in the States that have empathy with Puerto Rico so that they can fight along us in this effort. And that idea started with maybe 100 people. Today, it's over 20,000 strong across the 50 states that are fighting for equality. And perhaps the most interesting thing that happened was the observation that it didn't only stop with the 5.8 million U.S. citizens that were of Puerto Rican descent. A year ago, we went to the United Nations. And there, I met Kathy, a New Yorker who had no ties to Puerto Rico, but wanted to come and state her case for why the United Nations should eradicate colonialism for Puerto Rico. And when I asked her, Kathy, why are you doing this? Why are you joining this fight? Her answer became something of a battle cry for us. And she said, I do this because your cause is beautiful and powerful. I do this because I believe that what you want for the people of Puerto Rico is what all Americans want for the rest of the U.S. citizens. So now, what lies ahead? The next step is in the Senate. And thankfully, we have a great friend of Puerto Rico, not only now, but always. In the harshest of times, in the most challenging of moments, Senator Heinrich has been there to support the people of Puerto Rico. And for that, we're grateful, Senator. So what are the next steps? What is the next step in this fight? The next step is in the Senate. The next step is for us to go and garner support so that we can pass this bill. The next step, immediate, is for these delegates that come as a representation of those 20,000, about 100 of them from 20 states, are going to knock on those doors, talk to their senators, and ask for equality and ask to support this bill submitted by Senator Heinrich. And why do we do it? We do it because we imagine a great and wonderful future. And while I could spend a lot of time talking about that future, I just want to give you a few insights into it. I imagine that the United States grows, and with it, it grows with the first majority Latino state in the nation. I imagine that within that state, there are veterans, like the ones that are to my left over here, that have fought the good fight, but have not been treated equally for doing so. I imagine a future where our kids can have the same resources for education, for health, and our elderly cannot be spared and into forgiveness just because they're not treated equally. I imagine a future where, leading with William Villafañe's insight of 435 offices across the nation, we will be able to grow this effort and we will be able to achieve our goal. So our ask to the Senate is to pass this bill, is, like the governor said, to have a hearing, but more importantly and more clearly, our ask to the Senate and to the rest of the people of the United States is to do like Kathy and join this beautiful and powerful cause. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, so last but not least, it is my honor to present fearless leader here in the Senate, an ally of Puerto Rico. And while Puerto Rico does not have the right to elect members to the U.S. Senate, we sure as hell have a great ally in Senator Martin Heinrich. So without further ado, I leave you with Senator Martin Heinrich. Thank you.
It's great to be here today, and there's no way I can articulate this any better than the governor and the former governor. This is about equality. This is about American citizens being treated with the same level of rights and dignity no matter where they live. And that is fundamental. And that is a story that we should all be inspired by. I was lucky enough to be elected to the House of Representatives the same time that the now governor was elected. And as we talked about the pathway for Puerto Rico, it made me go back and look at my own state's pathway to statehood. And I realized that while the years have changed, the arguments really haven't changed. And how hard it was for New Mexico to become a state, how it needed allies from people like Senator Quay and even Teddy Roosevelt to become one of the great states of the United States. And it inspired me to get personally involved because this is about making sure that all of our citizens who've done so much for this great country are recognized and have the same rights no matter whether they live in Puerto Rico or in New Mexico or New York or anywhere else. So what excites me about this gathering today is that we are gathering momentum thanks to all of you. We have never had so many. We're now up to 25 co-sponsors in the Senate. That's a complete record-breaking number, and the interest and the enthusiasm is only building. So I want to encourage all of you this week to just. This is a moment that really matters. Like, build that momentum, argue your case. You have such great facts on your side. You have so many amazing American citizens on your side. So let's continue to build this momentum. This is a bill that's already shown that it can pass the House of Representatives in a bipartisan way. Let's make sure that in the Senate we can do the same. So thank you all, and it's an honor to be here.
I think that wraps up the speakers, and now we'll go into the press.
Senator Heinrich, can you talk about the dialogue with Chairman Manchin regarding the possibility of a hearing?
Those conversations are ongoing, and I'm optimistic. I'm not going to go into details, but I think this is an issue that continues to gain the attention of the entire Senate, and I am optimistic that we will get there.
Have you talked with any Republican that support the bill?
I have talked to a number of Republicans on this issue, and I think that when the time comes, my expectation is I think it will be a bipartisan outcome. We don't have any co-sponsors yet, but we are continuing those conversations, and historically this has been an issue that has had bipartisan support in the House, obviously, so we'll continue to make that case.
Governor, I've seen you here several times talking about the same issue. Are you frustrated that you're still talking about this, still pushing for this here on the Hill?
Not at all. This is a quest, and it's a long-standing quest already. But when you look at the time that it took for Hawaii to become a state, Alaska to become a state, the same applies to New Mexico. You realize that this doesn't happen overnight. And actually at this point, it is a rather straightforward issue because the people of Puerto Rico, the American citizens residing in Puerto Rico, have repeatedly voted in support of statehood. repeatedly voted against the current status of Puerto Rico. That should take Congress to take action. I mean, that the ball is in Congress's court, and I'm the first one who realizes that there are two parties in America, two main parties in America, and that for this to happen, you need bipartisan support. That's exactly what happened in the House a year and a half ago. And now we are turning our attention to the Senate because we would like something similar to happen in the Senate. We'll see what happens in these upcoming elections. We'll see the kind of Congress we have in the coming years. But I tell you, the question is not whether, the question is when. Puerto Rico will become a state of the Union. I cannot tell you exactly when. But we will keep up the fight. We know we are on the right side of this issue, and we owe it to the majority, the vast majority of the American citizens of Puerto Rico, both in Puerto Rico and in the mainland, because by now, every time you poll this issue, including among Puerto Ricans, including the ones who are residing in the mainland, you see that a clear majority of Puerto Ricans want the same deal, want equal rights as fellow U.S. citizens.
Just a quick follow-up. You were asked about getting it to a committee hearing. Are y'all both, Senator and Governor, are y'all trying to talk to both leaders, McConnell and Schumer, about this issue today?
Yes, we will be approaching, as Senator Heinrich, I'm sure, has done. I will be approaching leadership at the Senate and to ask for this hearing as the next step, because I believe it is important to talk about the merits of this bill. This is a fair bill, and we should be talking about the options that should be presented to the voters of Puerto Rico. The current status is old, is not working anymore. You said whether I'm frustrated. Well, I'll tell you one thing is, like, we keep asking for equal treatment. No matter, this is the never-ending story. If it's not for nutrition assistance, it is for health, it is for the disabled, it is basically voting rights. How much longer should we be doing this? So I agree with you that this is becoming old. It's about time for the Congress to take action on this issue. Very good.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference.